nice uniforms, and then provide, the infrastructure or the facilities they need, and also, get the platforms and the logistics to be able to put them in the waters to be there to protect our EEZ. So whatever you can do to support us is most appreciated. Of late, them going to the Maritime Academy in Ghana is well appreciated, and I'm sure in the long run it will add to more professionalism, and we should be able to work collectively. It will also bring synergy, because if you study and understand the same things, when you work together, you have a basis of collaboration. On that note, I want to thank and appreciate you, and on behalf of the Minister, to appreciate your high command, and to say the Gambia Armed Forces and the Navy are here to work with partners. I know the Mayor is not here, but I'm sure we can send our goodwill message. If you are in somebody's yard, you always want to know that he is happy with you. I hope we are not, doing things that is not, supporting or helping the transformative agenda of the City Council. If there is anything we can do to support that, we are here. And thank you for the reception this morning and for the audience. I now open the floor. If there is any comments, any questions or any contributions, we can interact for that.
Throughout the landing sites in the Gambia, annually we do engage in enforcement exercises for non-compliance, and they are helping us a lot. So if we help the Navy, we are helping ourselves, we are helping Gambia, because without them, the Gambia Maritime Administration cannot function. For the good job that they've been doing over the years, and we also thank you also for giving them the conducive environment, for them to carry out their functions. As you said.
Good afternoon to you all. I am Sub-Lieutenant Alhaji Bubakar Gay. I shall be the MC of this august occasion. Kindly allow me to outline the rundown of events of the day. We are gathered here this morning to witness the Chief of Defense Staff of the Gambia Armed Forces annual nationwide tour of military deployments in the country. The purpose of this tour is for the CDS to articulate his vision, as well as have an interface and direct conversation with troops under command, and gather first-hand information on the working and living conditions. After the visit of the CDS to the patrol vessels, the next item on the program will be individual faith. This will be followed by a welcoming remark by the commanding officer, Naval Command, Commander Farah Diop. The remarks by the Chief of Defense Staff will follow. The remarks, the interface and direct conversation by the Chief of Defense Staff with the officers and rating.
And welcome to the Naval Command, which is the operations and logistics base of the Gambian Navy. I am Lieutenant Commander Farah Diop, the commanding officer, Naval Fleet. Distinguished guests, officers, soldiers, and ratings, it is both an honor and a privilege that guides our Navy. Your presence here today reinforces the bond between our fleet and the higher command, reminding us of the vital role we each play in ensuring the security and effectiveness of our naval operations. Your leadership and vision continue to inspire us, and we are eager to demonstrate the dedication and professionalism that characterize our team. At the Naval Fleet, we are proud of the strides we've made in maintaining operational readiness, making the best use of technological innovations, and fostering a culture of excellence. Our personnel, who stand ready day and night, are the backbone of our success. They embody the core values of integrity, accountability, and commitment that our Navy stands for. Today's visit is an opportunity for us to showcase not only our capabilities, but also resolve to uphold the highest standards of operational effectiveness. We are excited to share with you our recent achievements, ongoing initiatives, and the challenges we face as we continue to adapt to the evolving maritime landscape. Please permit me to give a brief insight of the operational readiness, ongoing missions, and key achievements by our naval deployments to ensure you are fully informed about our strategic priorities, resource allocation, and any challenges we are currently addressing. My objective is to provide you with a comprehensive overview of our strategic significance within the GAF broader defense framework. On operations, our operational readiness, the Naval Command and Fleet are currently well positioned for operational readiness with 4 seaworthy patrol vessels for immediate deployment. The Naval Command has robust and diverse personnel strength of 446 naval members, including 22 officers, and 224 ratings, as well as 75 GAF attached personnel. This force ensures a high level of operational adaptability and resilience. The fleet's readiness to conduct sustained maritime operations, combined with the seamless integration of GAF personnel, demonstrates our capacity to effectively manage and execute a wide range of missions at sea. The ongoing missions, the Naval Command and Fleet are actively engaged in a series of critical security missions to ensure the safety and stability of our maritime domain. With our existing manpower, we are successfully carrying out our patrols that target key security challenges. Currently, our missions include surveillance, operations to counter narcotics trafficking, the prevention of irregular migration, and the protection of our fisheries resources, all of which are crucial in maintaining national sovereignty and economic security. Additionally, our search and rescue operations ensure the safety of lives at sea and along the river crossing points. Key achievements. The Naval Command and Fleet during the past 18 months or thereabout have made remarkable achievements despite daunting challenges. Key among the achievements include, but not limited to, arrest of fishing vessels, where at least 17 fishing vessels have been arrested for various violations of the Gambia's fisheries laws and regulations, as well as the Gambia's Merchant Shipping Act and regulations. Medical evacuations. During the period under review, the naval outpost at Lamin Koto has evacuated at least 61 patients in critical condition during nightly hours. Donation of a speedboat. The Gambian Navy, through very cordial collaboration with our esteemed partners, has recently succeeded in gaining support from the German federal government through the German police in the form of a donation of a high-speed boat to combat narcotics trafficking and irregular migration. The speedboat is a strategic addition to our fleet designed to boost our rapid response capacity in maritime law enforcement and search and rescue missions. Patrol boat donation from our Spanish counterparts. Our long-standing and cordial relationship with our Spanish counterparts has recently culminated in the generous donation of a coastal patrol boat. The patrol vessel is a significant addition to our maritime fleet, specifically enhancing our capacity to conduct long-range coastal surveillance, interdiction, and enforcement operations. It will play a pivotal role in strengthening our ability to monitor and secure our territorial waters, thereby contributing to regional stability and safety. Our challenges. The key challenges confronting the operational capacity are but not limited to the following: lack of capacity to conduct offshore patrols, shortage of skillful manpower. To talk on shortage of skillful manpower, the different training activities conducted are like the instructional lessons, squeezed into 2 classrooms only, or sometimes held outside. This situation significantly impacts operations and overall readiness. Insufficient water impedes the ability to conduct necessary maintenance and cleaning of vessels and equipment, drinking, cooking, and other essential functions, which also lead to health and hygiene issues for the personnel. Lack of docking jetty of our own. The absence of a docking jetty for a Navy's fleet can have significant operational, logistical, and strategic impacts. Without a docking jetty, naval vessels cannot easily access maintenance and repair facilities, leading to delays in necessary upkeep and repairs. Ships may remain at longer than planned or operate with reduced efficiency if they cannot dock for routine checks and maintenances. Ships may need to remain in less secure locations or at sea longer, increasing their exposure to potential threats or adverse weather conditions. Crew members may have as well limited opportunities for rest and recreation without access to docking facilities, affecting overall morale and performance. Another challenge is overriding training events in fulfillment of serious training directives, which disrupt unit-level trainings and operations. Also, postings done to the Navy lack the necessary aptitude tests conducted to assess candidates' potential for different roles when posted to the Navy. These tests can measure skills in areas such as problem solving, mechanical reasoning, and spatial awareness. Their motivation is also necessary to take into account when posting personnel to the Navy, that is, those who are interested to be in the Navy. There is dire need to recruit trainable personnel, which will also enhance specialization. Aside from the challenges, we want to look at the anticipated changes in our naval defense posture and resource requirements. Our naval defense posture and resource requirements are expected to evolve significantly due to combination of regional security dynamics, emerging threats, and strategic interests, such as increased focus on maritime piracy and robbery, improved maritime domain awareness, which is a high requirement, modernization of fleets to conduct patrols offshore, development of local shipping capabilities, enhanced multinational collaboration, international partnership is a necessary requirement. West African navies are expected to continue strengthening partnerships with international allies and organizations such as the European Union, the United States, the United Nations, to gain access to advanced technologies and training support. Counter-trafficking and smuggling operations is looming within the Gulf of Guinea, within the Zone G particularly. Humanitarian and disaster relief, budgetary adjustments. So on budgetary adjustments, to meet these evolving needs, we may face increased defense budgets, requiring more efficient allocation and management of resources. This includes prioritizing investments in training, maintenance, and logistical support. Now, a look at the way forward, sir. The Gambian Navy can effectively address current challenges within our maritime jurisdiction and contribute to broader maritime security efforts in the region with the following measures. Enhanced coastal security is one of them. There is need to intensify patrols to inspect or visit more vessels present in our waters. There is need for capability building. By that I mean platforms and equipment. This is imperative if we have to remain effective in dynamic and evolving global maritime environment. Resource management and efficiency. Preparing for unexpected events or emergencies by maintaining reserve resources and flexible operational plans is essential for maintaining a responsive naval force to unexpected events or emergencies. Training and human resource development. Professional development of our naval personnel through advanced training programs and education, as well recruitment and retention. There is a need to focus on attracting and retaining skilled personnel to maintain a high level of operational readiness and expertise within the Navy. There is also a need to establish a naval training school. Where this becomes too expensive, centralizing it at the GAF tiers could lessen the cost burden on GAF and could open up opportunity for new recruits and officer cadets to specialize or easily take up their career paths. Strategic presence and influence. This includes offshore and along the coast deployments, as well as participating in all regional and zone activities. There is a need to increase the capacity of existing reservoirs to ensure a more reliable water supply in this base. There is a need to construct floating docks or temporary docking facilities at suitable locations along the coast as an interim solution for the maintenance and repairs. There is a need to invest in the construction of permanent docking jetty to address long-term operational needs and enhance fleet capabilities. Finally, there is a need to enhance the logistics operations in terms of improving logistical support and resupply methods to mitigate the impact of the lack of a docking jetty. In conclusion, it is pertinent to reiterate that the efficiency of our performance as a Navy depends on strengthened organization and equipment, with an effective and continuous system of training for our seagoing men and women. Therefore, your visit underscores the importance of our mission and the crucial role of your leadership in ensuring our operational success. We are committed to providing you with all the necessary information to facilitate informed decision-making and strategic planning. Thank you for your leadership, support, and for taking the time to be with us today. We look forward to your insights and guidance, and we are honored to have you witness firsthand the dedication and hard work of the Navy since the beginning of your leadership as the CDS. Once again, welcome to the Naval Command and Fleet. We are grateful for your presence and for the rare opportunity given to us to have interaction with you directly. I thank you, sir.
With that, we now move on to the next item on our list. We have the opening remarks by the Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General Mohamed O.A. Cham.
Our able host, the commanding officer of the, don't worry, let me stand, of the Gambia Navy, what do you call yourself? Naval Command. Yeah, sometimes water boys, when you come, you want to integrate them into our battalions. But they call themselves naval command instead of what the infantry calls the battalions. But I think they perform the same functions. All right, what I was saying basically is that we want to thank our host and to recognize our host, Lieutenant Commander Farah Job, for that very detailed and eloquent articulation of your operations and some of your challenges and probably the proposals for the way forward. Colonel Lamin K. Sanyang, my able MA, and the Director of Press and Public Relations at the Defense Headquarters, other members of my delegation, the officers and ratings of the Naval Command of the Gambia Navy, the press, all other protocols duly and respectfully observed. Good morning. Good morning, sir. First of all, I want to thank you for that very warm reception that was accorded to me and my delegation this morning. I also want to thank you for that very sumptuous breakfast. I came here and I teased your commander and said, I've been to all the GAF or the GNA posts during my tour, and anywhere I go, they either give me chicken or they give me goat meat or sometimes the rare cow. So when you come to the water boys, probably you want something different. You want something that is coming from the water, so as to tell us that yes, we are no longer on land, but we are using the resources from the marine or the water. Well, of course, he didn't disappoint, and then we had a very good breakfast, and thank you for that, and thank you for your cook. As had already been indicated, the purpose of my visit as the Chief of Defense Staff of the Gambia Armed Forces is to come and see you and assess your living and working conditions, and also to share some of our ideas and probably our programs on the way forward, on the enormous responsibility that has been placed on our shoulders as members of the Gambia Armed Forces. In particular, to also express our vision for the very important sector of our national defense, constituting the maritime domain. We've listened keenly to the challenges and the way forward that have been proffered by your very intelligent commanding officer. And I want to assure ab initio that my own thinking is in line with the vision and the desires he expressed here. The Gambia is a maritime state, and because of our geography, probably we don't have that strategic depth in our land space. Hardly from one corner to the other corner of the country, you can travel beyond 50 kilometers before you reach either the northern boundary of Senegal or the southern boundary. So which means we are just canalized into going into the east. Even if we want to venture into meaningful agriculture, probably at some point there will be a serious challenge because of scarcity of land. With a growing population and a need to feed and provide for the requirements of that population, we have to turn to the waters. And turning to the waters is going to be a big advantage and a complement and a source of great resources for us. I am not very good at mathematics like the able MC, but I know that as per international law, every country has what is called an exclusive economic zone of about 200 nautical miles. If you multiply 200 by the 87 or 90 kilometers of our of our beach or coastal land space, you get a huge amount of space, which probably, if we build the capacity, if we build the abilities and procure the required platforms for the Navy and other members of society who venture into the sea, probably we can maximize our national income. I'm also mindful of the fact that our immediate neighbor Senegal of late had discovered oil, and the anticipation and the wish and probably the question in every Gambian mind is, what about the Gambia? We are sharing the same geographical space. They've discovered huge quantities of gas and oil. And then one of the wells they're exploiting is within their Zangamar zone, which is adjacent to our A block. So it stands to reason and speculation that, of course, the Gambia must also have its natural share of oil. But even if you don't have oil, that 200 nautical miles of seawater multiplied by our coastal length of 87 or 90, I'm not very precise, that is a huge zone where we can do fishing, where we can do other forms of economic activity. And it poses also a big challenge to our national security. Of late, one of our biggest vulnerabilities has been within the waters. Day in, day out, some unknown operators are using our waters, for illegal fishing, sometimes irregular migration, sometimes probably to do some other nefarious activities like drug trafficking, sometimes even to poach, and even do illegal bunkering. And then sometimes they bring vessels, probably just to illegally dump goods without passing through our customs. So building the capacity of the Navy will give us, the ability to secure our territorial integrity and protect our sovereignty. If they can do that, probably God knows what they can also do. Because your commander mentioned here that one of the challenges in the Gulf of Guinea is probably piracy. Some criminal gangs, are within the sea, and then they want to live by robbing seafarers. And if we are not able to check that, probably people are crying that, the cost of living is high because of the various, attendant charges and other unnecessary impositions by the operators. But if security is not guaranteed within our waters, probably the vessels that bring these goods here will also upscale the insurance policies which will be transferred to us. So there are thousands of reasons why we as a nation and us as an armed force should build our capacity so that we will be able to care for our national security. As I look at this gathering, I see very brilliant faces of young men and women. Most of the officers, including your commander, are very young. And therefore the challenge is, how do we build your capacities? How do we procure the required platforms and required logistics so that you can do your duty as per the national interest? It requires not only a commitment to your motto here, which says that it is commitment that let somebody read that for me. It is commitment that links the chain. I looked at it and said, all right, how do we interpret this? As a team, the team is as strong as the weakest person in the team. And I'm sure you don't have the luxury of numbers like us in the land space. If you go into your platform, however big the ship is, it requires everybody within the ship to do one thing. So you cannot afford
to have a free rider, somebody who will be there and be a drain on the others that are performing duty. So your motto is apt: commitment. And commitment everybody must demonstrate, both in the Navy and in the armed forces. For long, we have been thinking that our problems can be solved by outsiders. Unfortunately, the sports for most of us in the Gambia is that everybody thinks that the problem that we all face daily is the duty of somebody, the other person, to fix. People always say, Mansakunda nyanta nyinkela, or the other party should do this, the other party should do this. A blame game. Everybody wants to dodge from responsibility. And everybody wants to behave the way you are behaving, irrespective of what the common interest is. And it has so many implications. Most of the time, when it's convenient and safe for everybody, you ignore the law and do what you think is in your interest. And once you do that, the consequences comes upon all of us, and everybody start to point finger. I want us in the Navy and the armed forces to change that perspective, change that dynamics. It is us that have to bring the change that we want to see. And the only way we can do that is if we are committed, be sincere, and uphold the highest virtues of morality, integrity, and commitment. Nobody will do that for us. Your commander mentioned that yes, we have our good friends who have been supporting us. And yes, we will continue in our engagements with those strategic partners to request for a continuity in that support, both in terms of capacity building and in terms of donation of the critical equipment that we require. But it is our duty, once we have those things, to use them maximally and to make sure that we take care of them optimally and only for the purpose they are meant for. If we all do that, we will continue to have reliable equipment, and despite being poor, we will be able to build from there one step at a time. And that is something I'm requesting from you. I want you, the officers and the men, these fine men and women in uniform facing me here, who have dedicated and volunteered to serve the Gambia through the Navy, to commit yourself that you will support the command so that we can build a Navy that is, the envy of not only the Gambian people, but the sub-region. I know that it will take enormous resources, which for now may not be in our hands, but with the will, we can work forward to build it. Your commander mentioned about your successes this year. When we patrol our waters and arrest those illegal operators, there are consequences. We arrest them, bring them on board, and based on our national laws, maybe put them through the courts and fine them. My idea is that if we can increase on that and make sure that nobody can come into our marine waters and do something which is against our national interests and go scot-free, then we will be able to regulate that. Once we regulate that, all those defaulters will now be brought to book. And then from the resources that we are going to get through their illegal activities, we can leverage some and then build and procure the required equipment and logistics that we need for the Navy. That is a proposition. And I'm sure with the commitment of all of us here, we can do that. In the past, the land forces had always been, what we call accusing the Navy. That sometimes you go out there and then you compromise the national interests. Of course, there is no evidence to support that allegation. So as command, we disregard it. But probably for you to take note that sometimes when you are out there in the sea, probably, away from the eyes and ears of your counterparts on the land. It's easy to act outside the common interest. It takes a person of integrity. It takes a person of commitment and patriotism to go there, see somebody who is breaking our laws and probably looting our national wealth, and then you know in fully well that there are consequences if you arrest him and bring him on land. And then he turns around to you and said, boy, take this and look the other way and allow me to go. Sometimes it's tempting, but it's against the interests of the country. So if and when those things are advanced to you, think of this speech I am making here and say no. The same vein, of late you heard that, over the past month, there has been, continuous arrests at the airport of people who want to use our airport to smuggle drugs to other countries. When we went to check how they were able to do that, we realized that the physical infrastructure is there. Physical security was adequate. So probably the only weak link was the human element. As we speak, there is a board investigating that. But based on the preliminary reports we have, the information is that they were able to use some inducement to some of those people whose duties or functions were critical in this entire security of the airport, and then to induce them to let go. And that brought a lot of anxiety, a lot of bad name to the country. At some point, our detractors were saying Gambia is becoming a narco state. And a narco state is a state that is manipulated by criminal elements who go into drug peddling. The same way it happens on the land is probably the same way it can happen in the waters. I'm giving this story so that each one of you here knows what is at stake, and to renew your commitment to the chain so that you do not become the weak link. At any one time, everyone here is present is important in the national defense and security and welfare of the country. So take note and never betray the trust of these great people and this great country in your individual capacities. Having said that, I also want to assure your commander that my command will always remain focused to make sure that within the limits of our resources, we will make sure that the Navy is provided for adequately. As I speak here, I saw a lot of fine men, but I have also noticed that there is no marine lawyer here. Or do we have somebody who is a lawyer? All right. So probably we'll go and audit our team. And then if we have somebody, we'll post him here. Of course, we'll involve you because we don't want to post people and then they come here, probably they are not fitting within your organogram or the psychology and the mentality of the Navy boys, the water boys. Okay, but we'll console you. But I think that is also an area where you need somebody to come and join the team so that, gradually we can look at what is provided for in terms of international law as it relates to the marine domain. We can also look at how the act creating the Navy and the mandate given to the Navy is adequate or inadequate for the duties that we are assigned. And once you apprehend somebody who is violating our laws, probably we should be able to give a reason and some evidences to support the prosecution and probably the punishment of those people. Because most of the time what obtains here, once you arrest with all the energies, you bring them here, then we have to transfer everything to the fisheries. And then what obtains thereafter is almost unknown to us. And most of the time you realize that the outcome of those what we call negotiations or court cases is not even worth the effort that we have put in. The laws are quite adequate. I've read some part of it, And then if we were all going to operate, including us and them, on those provisions, probably we would be able to get more resources based on those fines. And that is why we will provide you with one, and then we'll build a legal cubicle here so that it will complement the efforts that you are doing. But don't get me wrong, I want to recognize the excellent performance of the Gambia Navy. You have done a tremendous job in the past in executing your mandate and also providing the required support to other stakeholders. When we came in the morning, we had members of the GMA, Gambia Maritime Administration, we had the fisheries here, and your very neighbors here, the dock workers, or what we call company or whatever. And the testimony they gave me as stakeholders, I'm very proud of the way you are working and living with them. And I want you to encourage you to continue to give the required support to them, as well as to network with them. Every one of you here is an ambassador of the Gambia Armed Forces, is a representative of the Gambian Navy. And how you act, what you say, how you represent or misrepresent this fine institution is going to affect our effectiveness. Your officers are young, as I said, and I also want to encourage them to read and be able to arise to the opportunities that are before you. Create the opportunities that you yearn for. You are the experts in this area. All right, come up with the plans, come up with the strategies, come up with the ideas that we can propound and we can sell to our stakeholders, the government, our commander-in-chief, and to emphasize the importance of why we should have a second-to-none navy in this sub-region, so that we can together defend and push our national interests. The opportunities are there. Commander, I've seen that you've also not only laid the challenges, but you have some ideas. I would like you to really enlarge on those ideas and come up with workable strategies and plans, not only to attract resources, but also to build the capacities and improve the efficiency. Having said this, let's come now to our common challenges as an armed force. Throughout my journey across the country, my main message to the soldiers, the fine men and women officers in the armed forces is that we should not let our guards. The armed forces is a Republican armed forces. It's a national institution. All the members of the armed forces, in theory, should be Gambians, patriotic Gambians. Nobody is forced to come here. It's a volunteer armed forces. In other words, you come at your own volition and offer yourself for recruitment into the armed forces. And once recruited into the armed forces, your commitment, your dedication, your effort is what will propel you to the highest levels. We try to make sure that the only criteria for advancement in the armed forces is merit. And merit is a difficult thing. You may think that, yes, I am very good at what I am doing, but your neighbor is also equally good. So at the end of the day, the only criteria we want to set is that if there are rewards, senior officers, senior and non-commissioned officers, order ranks, good afternoon, and then it is a pleasure to be here. Once you walk into the Joint Services headquarters, you have this nostalgic feeling. You know, I spent some very long and also to interact with them so that probably we can articulate, you know, our vision, our day today. I'm sure people will ask, since we are all in the same space and probably daily we interact, why do we need to have this conversation at the Defense and Joint Services headquarters? Because almost on a daily basis we interact. So they should come up with the plans and the policies and the regulations and the measures with which to implement those plans. We are the apex of the Gambia Armed Forces. Like they used to say, the buck stops at our desk. Everybody brings your complaints, your concerns, and it is our duty and our function to make sure that we find the solutions, we find the answers, and we find the processes and procedures that will solve those problems. Not only solve problems, but even anticipate them and come up with directives, come up with regulations, come up with strategies that will now be able to really put everybody on a very clear mindset that this is what is needed for the armed forces to be able to discharge its constitutional mandate. In peacetime, by and large, this is broadly the function of a headquarters. In peacetime, you will do that. In war, the commander will trim the cumbersome headquarters and carry it to the field. But still, they do those functions. And if you look at any command structure, that is why you have the J cells. In our own situation, we call them directorates. We have the Directorate of Admin and Personnel, Directorate of Finance, Directorate of Communication and IT Technology, and then name them. Their duty basically is to come up with the programs, the policies with which to guide or to help the Chief of Defense Staff implement his plans so that we can administer the armed forces and cater for them with the required logistics, with the required material, with the required strategies, which will now form the blueprint for us to be able to implement our mandate. And that is why posting to the headquarters is also very critical. Or anybody who is selected and posted to any appointment at both the defense headquarters and the Joint Services headquarters must be alert to those responsibilities. And also it's critical to put up the necessary efforts to make sure that we are not found wanting. Can we cut that AC? Huh? Is that maybe probably this is a signal to the Chief of Defense Staff that some of these problems are here. I'm sure it's deliberate. Oh? It's deliberate. Director of Logistics, take note. I'm sure the Ajifatus and the Colonel Jais under Sambawalde will give those directives. But I'm sure we hear you very clearly. Not to lose track of what I was saying. I was saying that postings in the headquarters is critical. It must be the best of the best who are posted here. And posting here is not a holiday, or it's not a time to really lighten up. And I want people to really take that. My message to you is that the Chief of Defense Staff's ability to deliver the contract that we have with the Gambian people and the soldiers largely depends on your output, your input and your outputs. Inputs in the sense of good advice, articulation of good policies, and output in the sense of delivery. Delivery of what you should do. One thing we've learned over a period is that we tend to use this firefighting technique to our task. Daily issues come up, and whenever issues come up, everybody is alert. We rush helter-skelter to find the answer. 1 day, 2 days, it recedes to history, and then people forget. And most of the time, what we say today, the decisions we make, when we go to meetings, and the directives we give for implementation are never done. Because the people who are directed probably had not taken enough notes, or even if they do, by the time they link up with the other people and stumble on some obstacles, they tend to forget and put it in the back burner. In as much as we appreciate the efforts, the contributions, and the goodwill of everybody, I want to use this forum to really ask you to think again, and then to really, change that action or that way of doing things. When I came up, I articulated that my approach would be what is called mission command. That is the approach we want to use in order to carry the function. Anybody appointed to a task is assumed that already had the knowledge and the skills to deliver that. And then, of course, once that is done, the commander should not be the thinker. And another thing before I forget that I want us to take note. Most of the time, even if soldiers apply for, let's say, opportunity to pursue training or apply for something they want to be granted, it passes through the chain of command. And then the only comments I see there, application seen and forwarded. From the company commander, platoon, to the army commander, all the way to my desk. I want you to advise me. What am I supposed to do? Forward. Whom am I going to forward it? No one. So the box must stop in my desk. So my staff and those in the chain, you should now be able to give me your perspective. He wants to go and do training. All right, you look at whether he's entitled, whether he's got the requisite background knowledge. Okay, if he's this thing, whether he's got the time, is he sufficiently bonded? What are the things based on his experience and educational background that you would recommend? So that by the time it comes in, I have options. When you take a problem to a commander, you must offer him at least 3 solutions. The best one, the second best, and the least best. So that among these 3 options, he can say, all right, option 1, blah, blah, good. Option 2, that, but the preferred option is this one. Sometimes staff also go even to that length and weigh in the consequences and say, all right, option 1, these are the consequences. Option 2, these are the. So given the situation, we recommend that you will adopt this option because of X, Y, Z. And if we all adopt that, you see that we will all be able to work as a team. In the Navy, I saw their motto. They say, commitment links the chain. Commitment links the chain. Am I getting it right? Yes, because the chain is an individual, simple distinct. But because everybody is hooked up and everybody is committed to supporting the other one, so the chain is strong. And that is what a headquarters should do. And I would also request that we change this operational modality. You do not help the commander by saying that application seen and forwarded. At least tell me, I strongly recommend you approve, or no, sir, this one doesn't deserve that. It's better to do X, Y, Z. Remember, we say that neutrality is immorality. In any situation, you know, you cannot be neutral. You must have an opinion. And the reason why we select you and appoint you as principal staff officers, as what is it called, SO1s, SO2s, and SO3s, is because we believe in your wisdom and in your capacity to guide the decisions of the armed forces, so that optimally we can now deliver. The other thing that has been really impeding our progress is probably the reckless use of resources. Year in, year out, we go through the budget protocols, and I'm sure, you know, my deputy is now a professor in the budget, and then General Njai and the service chiefs have also been carried, and even, you know, the Inspector General of the Armed Forces. You know, sometimes when we go for this budget cycle, and the budget cycle is like this, for those who don't understand. Annually, the government of the Gambia must cost the activities that it wants to do in the following year, ranging from health to education to the military. We must come up with a program and say that in 2025, this is what we want to do in order to push the agenda forward. And each of those ones is costed. You look at the personnel component. How many soldiers, how many officers, what will be their pay, what will be their allowance, what are the foreseen trainings, operations, and you cost all those things. And then you submit. Then if you want to procure vehicles, other equipment, even as basic as stationaries, must be costed and then put in the budget. So that by December it goes to the National Assembly. When it passes cabinet, the National Assembly will now look at what are the expected incomes in the country. What will be the total taxes that the government expects to collect through GRA? What will be the other incomes that they expect? And then say that, all right, against this planned expenditure, this is what we have. And then you also look at your friends and say, what are the grants, the support that they will give us? Support comes in two forms. One is grant, the other is loan. And my teacher used to tell me, wealth is access to credit. So let us not be scared of taking a loan. What we should be scared of is to misuse the loan. I've seen that some of our soldiers, you know, they have exhausted their low credit amounts from our credit union, and then daily, I think 40 to 50% of our paperwork is based on attestations. From who writes the attestation? Director admin. When I read the float, 40 to 50% of the paperwork is attestation. Attestation so that you can get another loan. So I hope that we are not fully indebted. If you do, reduce it. Otherwise, you will continue to service a loan. Okay. So when we do that, when the government does that, they calculate all the available sources of income, all the loans, all the grants. And then if there is still a gap, that becomes the deficit. So the point I want to get in is that whatever is not provided in the budget is not available. And even the amount that is provided in the budget will now go through another test. Let's say that they are generous to approve a budget amount for the military for so many millions. Monthly, the Director of Finance must translate that into how we are going to spend it. Let's say we are allocated 240 million for easy mathematics for the whole army. That is 240. If you divide it by 12, how many will it be? 20 million per month. And then our planning is based on that 20 million. We submit the budget to the Ministry of Finance, that planned expenditure. And then because what is coming in is not up to that, and they have to share it across the departments, agencies, and ministries. We plan to spend 20. What they give us is maybe 10 if they are very generous. 12, sometimes even 8. So that makes life very difficult. Now, even if they are generous and give us the 20, most of the challenge is that now we go to the how we spend it. And then the army will say we want X, Y, Z. The engineers, everybody comes in, they submit. And then the director of procurement is minuted, approve, facilitate procurement. They compile this. And then we would go back to, we'll now invite vendors. And then the vendors who doesn't know, if we meet it, how much we meet it? And they think that our government has everything. So by the time they come, if this is costing $10, they multiply it to $100. And then even if they multiply that to $100 and say it is their cost, sometimes with our own support. Now, when they supply us, they don't give us value for money. Now, the little we have, we spend. What we get in return is not the quality we wanted. And yet still, we say we want to move from where we are to where we want to be. It's not going to happen. And that is again where the staff must come in. Most of the time, you are the ones who are there in the boards. You are the one, even if they supply, who are on the receiving end. You are the eyes and the ears of the command. And then they just bring you anything you accept. By the time you sign, you commit the armed forces. The reason I'm saying this, we had this issue with Kono. Kono was a supplier to the army. He used to supply spare parts, vehicle, engines, etc. And then this was in the past. I can remember that when I came in, when he brought his bill, it's good. I saw at that time a vehicle engine for Kia or whatever, $240,000, second hand, and so many other things. And then it was delivered, signed for, as received on behalf of the army. Another case in point is this company they call, is it? Not Kono, I will come to Kono. There's a TK Export. TK Export. He supplied the armed forces with operational equipment, camp beds, tents, etc. Inflated price, millions of dollars. Sign in, receive. When we had the deployment in Berening, Gunjur, we issued our soldiers those camp beds. Within the first 3 days, they were kaput. They were not fit for purpose. And then he started sending this thing. During General Kinte, General Drame, we said, no, we are not going to pay. These things are not fit for this thing. They are not military graded. The first time we deployed this, blah, blah, we went all the way to the office of the president to argue. But like my friend is here, a contract is a contract. Offer acceptance and then delivery. And there is commitment. So we must pay. We end up paying that guy close to $1 million. Translate that to dollars. And that one, even whereas it's coming from the treasury, but it's paid through our budget. So we've lost that one. So the point I want to make, there is a lot of needs for the armed forces. And infrastructure, houses are not adequate, troop carriers are not there. So many other things. Can we continue to shortchange the institution? It's a moral question. And I throw it back to you. The fact that you are principal staff officers, you are commanders, and even NCOs, each one here is an authority. You represent the armed forces. TK Export delivered to ordnance. It was not an officer who signed the delivery note, but it was a sergeant or an NCO who signed on behalf of the Gambia Armed Forces. And that is what was important. He was in a position and authorized to receive. And then he acted as duly assigned, probably not very good decision, but the consequences are what I have said here. So I want to appeal to you that in your future decisions, in support of the Chief of Defense Staff, everybody must factor what is in the best interest of the armed forces, so that together we can move from where we are to where we want to go. Because if we are not prepared, the future will not knock our doors and say tomorrow or 2 years ahead, there will be this guy who want to come and raid the Gambia. So get ready. We should expect the expected. And when push comes to shove, the Gambia Armed Forces must stand to the task. If, like we did with the deployment in, Gunjur Berendi, we went there, the materials were not good. Our soldiers were forced to sleep on the land. During the rainy season, there was no cover on them. And then everybody started blaming command. They didn't give us good things. They didn't do X, Y, Z. Even with the food, it's the same thing. We invite vendors. We said they must give us nutritious food. And then we pay for it. Even for rice, we are paying for a bag of the highest quality to these vendors. But they end up giving us the worst quality. And even fish in the units. And the last time, members of Fobian, Kanelai, said that the fish they give them was not good. I went to Bashe, they said the same thing. Even the chicken, the legs they give us, was almost spoiled. And I said, what did you do with that? He said, sir, this guy brought it all the way to here, so we felt sympathy for him, and then we receive it. And then you receive it, you cannot eat it. And now you want command to solve that problem. So, not to belabor the point is well made. They talked about Kono, Kono, which is another dubious thing. You saw in the newspapers, the army is adjudged to pay almost $7 million because of service, what do they call them? Sweet services that Kono has rendered to us. If you ask any of the directors here, they said, no, he didn't do all those things. Can you imagine every day in Fajara barracks emptying almost 10 to 12 trucks of sewage? But if you go to the delivery road, it was signed by somebody who is in our colors. And now the judgment is there. We have to pay. And that money is not going to come from the sky. It will come from our allocation. Things are getting harder, and these are the resources that we have to use to improve the welfare of the troops and buy the logistics needed. So please help me, help yourselves. In the future, let us all be on alert. We are paying in full measure, so nobody should shortchange us. And everybody is a CDS, everybody is a deputy CDS at your own level. If you see something wrong, report it. If you cannot stop it. If you report it, make sure that you report to the right people. Nobody should connive with an outsider, to really sell the interests of the armed forces. Having said this, I also want to recognize and thank you. Both myself and my predecessors are able to steer the affairs of the armed forces because of your support. I want to recognize our very gallant military police who stand in the ranks. They come day, night, and the int and the receptionists. When people come to the headquarters, they process you. We had our quarrels in the past, but now I have seen that they are changing. Most of the time, commanders don't want to be ambushed. You are in your cubicle, and then somebody comes, I want to see the Chief of Defense Staff. Do you have an appointment? No, but I want to see him. And then sit down. You pick the phone. Good morning, sir. CDS, deputy is at the gate, he wants to see you. And CDS is sitting. And then the man is sitting. And then you expect the CDS to say, no, I don't want to see you. You put us in a moral dilemma. And then the guy is already there. So probably we can change that modus operandi. Sometimes he comes, do you have an appointment? No, please wait. Let me check whether he's there. And then you go without his hearing, find the most convenient way to communicate the message. Sir, we have this guy, he said he doesn't have an appointment, he's here to see you. Do you want to see him? No, sorry, I owe him $10,000, I don't have that. Tell him, give an excuse. So that you tell him, unfortunately, he's not there or he's in a meeting. You extricate us. Last time they used to come all the way to the gate and say, wait. And then they will knock the door, enter, and say, X want to see you. Whatever you say, X is listening. So probably, thank you for your good work, or remember that. The other thing we've said, and I'm sure everybody here is aware, the armed forces is a national institution. The armed forces is not a tribal armed forces. The armed forces is not a political armed forces. The armed forces is not a regional armed forces. The armed forces is the Gambia armed forces. The only criteria to be in the armed forces is to be a Gambian citizen with the right character, the right qualification. And once you are enlisted and inducted and trained, you represent the whole country. I want us to build that bond. We are here to serve our nation. And then we are in each other's keepers. There is no distinction here. Wherever you come from, if you are a Gambian, you are in the right institution, you are equal to everybody. So let's build that spirit. We try to promote a culture of merit. And a culture of merit is based on ability. It's not based on characterocracy. It's not based on relationship. Because tomorrow, let's say we have an air force, and then we need qualified pilots, we need qualified engineers in that plane. Do we appoint the person who is a good pilot, or do I say, well, this one, I will take a Nyominga and put as pilot? Which one do we do? Or we take a Jaranka and put him as a pilot? No, we will take the guy who is qualified. And that is the beauty of merit. Because if you put anybody there, other than the person who can do it, he's going to send you to your grave. And you don't want to go there. It's the same everywhere. Even in the offices, if you put the wrong person in the office, the consequences are what I have been talking about. So I want to assure you that during my watch, we'll promote merit. We started it with the officers. Everybody has the same chance. But depending on the availability of vacancies, everybody must compete on an even platform. So at the end of the day, we get the best people to the best job, to the jobs. So that all these difficulties that we've been talking about will be a thing of the past. We have to build an armed forces that is capable of discharging its constitutional roles and mandates. And then sometimes people tell me we are a small country. Kane munko dimba huleno. Kanole doyata kinokono. But akatara santole. No so. And even if the Kiankas want to touch it, they don't rush on it. They have to approach it wisely. So the Gambia also can be that. Size is not a disadvantage. Disunity is disadvantage. And disunity among the armed forces is the worst, is treacherous, is treasonable. So let's commit ourselves to work together so that we can build an armed forces that will be able to discharge its constitutional responsibilities. And if we are now a member of the ECOWAS space, we are a member of the African Union, we are also a member of the UN. As and when there is a need or a challenge in the sub-region, we are expected to play our part. There is what is called an ECOWAS standby force that is being created. the African Union security architecture is based on that regional architecture, where all the members in a region, we are in this ECOWAS sub-region, some people are in the other East African and other districts, SADC, etc. So, but every country is obliged to contribute to an ECOWAS standby force or to a regional standby force. And based on that regional standby force, then when there is a need at the continental level, it becomes the African standby force. Because we believe that Africa